Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. Excuse me, it's live, right? Can you say edit? Nope, not a live one. Anyway, I hope you're having a good morning. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you're having a good April, a good spring, a good life, a good everything. That kind of rhymed. I should write a poem, right? I write a lot of poems. In fact, I just wrote a couple of new poems. I've got new poems for this year already. Anyway, it's already April, right? Boy, this month is moving along nicely. So this week we are still, or today, I don't know where we'll be tomorrow, but for today we're still in the story of the Exodus, right? And we're in 3 chapters here. We're looking at some different things. I just got lost in these 3 chapters in my studies. I think it was Sunday morning, and I thought I was going to use it today in a lesson I'm doing in Nigeria later, but I'm not. So I studied it for a lot, but I just wrote out pages of notes on these 3 just 3 chapters. It's just packed with really cool stuff. So that's just where we're going to camp. Because when I find something that just really grabs my heart and really speaks to my heart, I just stop and I camp there and I wait and I let God speak through that, right? And so that's the coolest thing about the word is it meets us where we are. God meets us where we are. And we are, the word, I've said that, I know I've said it before, but it bears saying again, the word doesn't change. God's not going to change anything in this word. But when we live out experiences, we walk with God more, we learn more about him, we learn more from him, we develop that relationship with God, and we begin to understand who he is, what he's done, what he's going to do, where he's taking us and things like that, then our perception can change. We can have an understanding of some things. I can tell you about driving a car, but until you get in a car and drive it, you don't have that perception of, put it in drive, whether it's here or here, right? Put it in drive and driving down the road. And the more experience you have, the more it changes what you see when you drive, how you feel when you drive. And so when we have experiences, we come back to the word and we go, our understanding has increased in this area or that area. Or maybe I've learned something new in life. And so now I understand what God meant, or I understood what he was saying to the people because this happened to me and this is so similar, or sometimes it's so parallel. And so our experiences change our capacity to understand the word more. And God, as we mature, we understand new things and things that we didn't even see when we read the same passage 10 times ago, right? And so that's okay. So I'm camping this week in these 3 chapters. And what got my attention in chapter 14 is down in verse 10. And the New Living says, here they come. Okay, now you got to get the picture. You got to get this picture because they just came out of Egypt and they're following God, and they're just so excited because God has taken them out of slavery and they are headed to the promised land. And it's that wait in between that gets us every single time, right? But here they are, they're coming across, and bam, there's the Red Sea. They ran smack dab into the Red Sea. That wasn't so bad. It was enough in itself to cause alarm, to cause, maybe we'll call it worry, maybe we'll call it concern. And they're like, did God lose his map? Did God forget there was a sea here? No, they were in the perfect will of God. Moses had obeyed God totally, and there was still a Red Sea in their way. Just like Jesus with the boat. Remember, he says, get in the boat, go to the other side, and they go out into the sea, and a storm came. They had obeyed God, yet the storm still came. When we're walking with God, it doesn't mean we don't run into Red Seas or barriers or rocks or mountains or storms. It doesn't mean that everything's peaceful and there's, nothing ever's going to happen again. It just means he's made another way out. He's prepared a way to go through whatever it is. I got the Red Sea, and if that's not bad enough, all of a sudden they look behind them and they can see Pharaoh's army coming. Now they're between a rock and a hard place because they got a sea that they don't want to swim across. It's not even feasible. And they've got an army pressing in from behind, and they're sitting there, and here's what they did. Verse 10 in the New Living says this: they panicked, they prayed, and then they pointed at Moses. You brought us out here. Well, let's not forget, they followed. They could have stayed in Egypt, right? So they can't blame it all on Moses, although he was the leader. And it's so easy to point at our pastor and go, you didn't tell me this was going to happen, or you didn't, yeah, I did what you said. And now I'm in, look, it's so easy to point at a panic. Now, the good thing is sandwiched between the panic and the accusations, the panic and the pointing is they did pray, because they did pray. Now, here's the not funny thing. Later, they're going to come in another chapter, in the end of chapter 15, they're going to come to a place where there's no water to drink, and they're going to panic and point at Moses, and they're going to forget to pray. So we're going to be thankful right here that at least in this part, they remembered to pray in the middle of their panic, and they're pointing at someone else, trying to find. Isn't it easy? Does it somehow in our brains, this is not the truth, but somehow in our brains, when we're in a situation that we can't control, that we can't change immediately, that we can't wrap our heads around, isn't it easier to just blame somebody for that? If we can find someone to put the fault on, you did this to me. You led me here. Well, a leader can't lead if you ain't following. So instead of looking at God and going, God, we did what you said. We followed Moses, the man you sent. Please empower him, empower us to know what to do in this really scary situation. Look, I ain't saying I wouldn't panic if I got a sea in front of me and an army behind me, and I've never been trained to fight. I've only been trained to be a slave, to be subservient. I've been trained to not think for myself. I can't blame them for this at all, right? They are in the biggest predicament of their life. And I'm sorry, but at this point, slavery probably looked more enticing because, again, like we said yesterday, at least they knew what to expect. They knew it was going to be hard, but they understood that kind of hard. They didn't understand this kind of hard. And so they're in this situation where they're going, what do we do? Moses, it's all your fault. You brought us out here. You brought us to the sea. God is standing here between the sea and the army. And what did Moses say in verse 13? He says, don't panic. Be still. Watch God. What an amazing answer. I'm sure that's not what they really wanted. They panicked, they prayed, they pointed at Moses. He said, don't panic. Be still. Watch God. Isn't that the perfect formula for anything we find ourselves in today? No matter how bad it looks, no matter how good it looks, no matter how complex, confusing a situation may look, maybe God's made a promise to you and you can't see how in the world he's going to bring that about. It's okay. Don't panic. Don't be afraid. Be still. Psalm 46. Be still and know he is God. And then just watch him. Keep God at your focus. Even if you think you're going to be crushed between a sea and an army, between a mountain and a flood, between whatever situations you're in, you're being sandwiched in or boxed in, you're surrounded and you don't know what to do. Just keep your focus on God. Worst case scenario, you're going to die. You're just going to go be with God, right? We don't want to do that. God will bring that deliverance. We're just going to not panic no matter what happens today. We're going to be still. When something happens, anything happens, or what you hoped would happen doesn't happen. Just going to be still. Trust God and keep our eyes on him. That's when we can peace out. Peace out. He's got you. He's got you today. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.